In this video, I'm going to demonstrate the technique of sous vide and how it applies to our lamb rack, and we're going to make a completed dish using the sous vide lamb rack, roasted fingerling potatoes, pearl onions, and a beautiful pan reduction sauce. So the first step in this process is to actually sous vide the lamb because it takes a little while. It's going to take an hour initially to sous vide the lamb. So we're going to fill a large Cambro container with hot tap water, as hot as possible, because you have to, heat the water anyways. And the general rule of thumb is you want to have a container that's just large enough to hold what you will be sous videing with just enough water to cover. The more water that you use in the process, the harder your immersion circulator is going to have to work. So here I have my circulator. I'm just going to simply clip it to the side of my Cambro container. You can use a pot, you can use any device that can safely hold hot water. And then you have a top fill line that you don't want to exceed with your water level. And you have a bottom fill line that you want to make sure you exceed. And then you have the bottom temperature here is the temperature that you're setting your circulator at, and the top temperature is the actual temperature of your water. So you're going to turn that bottom temperature down to what the temp is you want. And at this point, we're going to do a 56 degrees Celsius cooking temperature for about 1 hour. And I'm going to place the already Frenched and vacuum sealed lamb racks into the 56 degrees Celsius bath, which is just slightly below 133 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to cook for an hour. And the reason why I'm only cooking for an hour when normally you would cook for 4 to 6 hours at 55 degrees Celsius, a little bit lower temperature, is we're going to cook this lamb twice. And so what I'm going to do is the first initial cooking at 56 is just to get the lamb mid-rare all the way through, but not to cook it any longer, to tenderize it. So I'm going to remove the lamb racks carefully from the bag while they're still hot. I'm not going to ice them. I'm going to take care to save that lamb juice that's collected at the bottom of the bag and pour that off into a separate cup, because we're going to use that lamb juice later to fortify our sauce. While the lamb is cooling, it's time to get our mise en place together to finish the rest of this dish, specifically for cooking the lamb. So here I have some slab bacon that I'm going to cut into large strips or batons. And now I have some garlic oil, and I roasted some whole garlic earlier. We have a separate video on that. So I use the oil method, and I have the leftover garlic-infused oil from the roasting process. And in that oil, I'm going to fry some rosemary. And this is going to do two things. It's going to, number one, infuse that oil with the rosemary flavor. So now it's a roasted garlic and rosemary oil. But it's also going to make the rosemary, which is extremely pungent by itself, is going to quiet those flavors so it's not so aggressive. Now I'm going to take that same infused oil and spoon it into hot saute pans, which I'm then going to use to brown my lamb racks. And you want to make sure that you've given your lamb racks time to cool off in your refrigerator before you brown them. That way they don't overcook. So these lamb racks are pretty much cool right now, and I'm going to sear them fat cap down first, then flip them bone side up. And then once I've actually gone through and seared all the lamb, I'm going to make a basic pan sauce right on top. And I'm going to fry some sliced shallots in that same pan, and it now has the fat from the lamb and also the flavored oil. And once the shallots become nice and caramelized, I'm going to deglaze with a little bit of white wine, reduce the wine to almost nothing, to where it's almost completely dry, and then add in a reinforced roasted chicken stock, which we have a separate video on that I'll link to in the show notes. Now you want to bring that chicken stock to a boil, and you're going to reduce just to concentrate the flavors. And if you've seen our pan sauce videos, this is nothing new to you. If you haven't, I'll put a link to our pan sauce videos in the show notes. Now you're going to take the lamb and portion it. And here we're just doing 4-bone portions. It's an 8-bone rack. So I'm going to cut the rack in half and make a 4-bone portion out of it. And at this point, because I'm doing such a large batch, I'm just going to strain all the sauces together through a chinois into a large wide pot and continue the reduction process. Now, in the meantime, I'm going to bag my lamb with my mise en place, which is the fried rosemary, the bacon, and the roasted garlic. Now, here I'm going to use a Ziploc bag. I'm going to place very carefully the loin in first, so loin side down. Then I'm going to rotate towards so the smallest bone is at the bottom of the bag, being careful not to allow the bone to actually rip the bag. And into that bag, I'm going to place a pinch of the fried rosemary, 3 pieces of the bacon belly, and then 5 pieces of the whole roasted garlic. Now, in the meantime, your lamb sauce should be reducing, and you want to go back and skim every so often to remove all that scum. And then right when your lamb sauce is about reduced by half and the flavors have concentrated, you're going to pour in that lamb juice that we saved before that came from the sous vide process, and that's going to reinforce your sauce with a very nice, rich lamb flavor. Now you're going to take this sauce and pass it through a chinois. It does not have to actually coat a spoon or bean nappe at this point because we will further reduce it on the pickup. So right now you're just looking to have a concentrated, flavorful sauce. Now you're going to take your lamb that's been bagged with the garlic and your other mise en place, drop it into a pot of hot water, ladle in about 4 ounces of your reduced lamb sauce, and then drop that bag below the surface so just the zipper is above the water line, and then seal the bag off. And that's going to press all of the air out of the Ziploc bag and give you a nice tight seal, which is going to allow you to later cook it sous vide again. Now, again, here we go, a little closer shot. I'm ladling about 4 ounces of sauce into the bag. I'm going to carefully drop the bag down below the water line so that just the zipper is above the water line, and the force from the water is going to press all the air out of the Ziploc bag and allow me to get a nice tight seal. Now from here, you want to place into an ice bath to make sure that you cool it down rapidly. And at this point, once you remove it from the ice bath and they're nice and chilled down, you can actually store these in your refrigerator for up to 4 to 5 days. Now that we have the lamb actually prepped, I'm going to take you through the pickup process as we do it in the restaurant during service time. So during service, I have a water bath set at 55 degrees Celsius, and I'll drop a couple of lambs into the bath even before we get orders, because the best window of time is when the lamb has cooked again for a second time in its own sauce at 55 degrees Celsius for about 2 hours, and you don't want to cook it any longer than 4 hours. Now here I have some pressed potatoes, which we have a separate video on, and I'm going to fry it in a mixture of clarified butter and canola oil, and then halfway through the frying process, add in some whole butter, which is going to help brown the exterior surface. Once you brown both sides, you're going to remove that from the pan briefly, throw in some peeled and blanched pearl onions along with some fresh chopped thyme, saute those around until the pearl onions start to get some color and caramelize. Add the pressed potatoes back in, give it another couple of tosses, a little handful of arugula right on top, gives it a nice peppery flavor. Hit that with just a little dash of white wine for flavor, and also that steam is going to help to wilt that arugula. Then, right when you're ready to serve, you're going to remove the lamb rack from the bath, carefully take it out of the package and set it aside, and pour the residual sauce into a hot saute pan. It's going to reduce all the minute and really concentrate those flavors. And at that point, you're making a pan sauce. Now, while that pan sauce is reducing, you're going to start your torch facing it away from your lamb, so that way the gas doesn't spray out onto your lamb before it has a chance to ignite. And just with the tip of that torch, you're going to brulee the lamb for about 30 seconds to reinforce that crust and give it a nice char. Now, once your sauce is fully reduced into the nappe stage, just like this, like you would do with any other standard pan sauce, you're going to swirl in some butter, check for some seasoning. If it needs salt or pepper, add that. Maybe some lemon juice or some acid if it needs that. Place your sauteed vegetable medley right on the plate, cut the lamb rack in half and cross those bones, and you can see we have this beautiful texture all the way through, a nice even red color, a perfect medium rare, and then you're going to spoon your pan reduction sauce that's infused with this wonderful smoky flavor from the bacon, and also infused with that lamb flavor. Just has this beautiful intense flavor. You're going to spoon it right over the lamb loin, add the garlic and the bacon right next to it, those little bonus treats. Now, there were a lot of supporting techniques in this video, and also if you want to learn how to roast a lamb rack and cook it nice without using the sous vide technique, check out this episode's show notes at stellaculinary.com/TCD9. For our related video techniques, you can click on any one of these 6 thumbnails here to be taken directly to that technique. Everything from how to pan roast a rack of lamb, which is going to allow you to cook the lamb without using the sous vide technique, how to make a pan reduction sauce, how to roast garlic, how to reinforce your chicken stock, all sorts of good stuff. So if you're unfamiliar with any of these techniques, please click on the thumbnail now. And if not, make sure you're subscribed to Stella Culinary on YouTube. And you can do that if you're not by clicking our very unobtrusive subscribe to Stella Culinary on YouTube button right there at the bottom of your screen. Go ahead and click it now. Go ahead. You know you want to. Go ahead. You're still here? Click a video.